Well, it's 9 o'clock in the morning on this beautiful autumn day, and today I'm at Lake Eden to walk around the lake to photograph the local bird life that I can see around the lake this morning. So Lake Eden is situated about a 45-minute drive north of the Brisbane CBD and is very close to the Westfield at North Lakes. The green line shows the track around Lake Eden, which is all flat, and it's around 1.3 kilometres around the lake. It's a very nice walk, even if you have mobility issues. Now in my last video I showed that I now use a monopod instead of just carrying the camera by hand. There's no stress on my back. It makes it so much easier to get very stable shots. I can lean up, lean down. So let's start walking around the lake and seeing what birds I can photograph this morning. You see I'm opposite the hotel here. There wasn't too many birds on the lake this morning, but at the end I was able to photograph a few. There's quite a few ponds around the lake for drainage purposes, so the stormwater gets caught up, and this is the first one I come up to here on my right. Just making my way to the edge of the pond. There was a black swan in there, started approaching me, so I started taking a few photos of it in landscape. But I found in portrait orientation I got some much better photos of it. There was also some dusty moorhens there. I got a couple of really nice photos. One of them came very close and I snapped this beautiful photo of a dusty moorhen. Lake Eden is a very good place to photograph birds because they're very used to human contact, so most of them will get quite close to you. Then I continued walking a little bit further down the lake. There's a very nice pontoon here with some picnic tables, and at times you can see a lot of bird life here. This morning there was only a couple of Pacific black ducks. I couldn't get some nice photos of them, so I just kept walking along. This area here on the left here, there's normally a lot of brown honey eaters, but this morning there was hardly one brown honey eater in this area here. This path takes you across another pond. Just after the little footbridge here, there's a track that takes you on the left along the lake, which is where I'm going to walk. But I decided to walk up to the pond here just to show you what the pond looks like. At the moment it's fairly overgrown. Sometimes there's wrens in this area here. So I turned around and you can see it on my right here now. This is the path that takes me along the lake, very close. From here there's normally kingfishers about. This morning there wasn't any kingfishers. I definitely wear some closed-in shoes around here because of the area. And as I walked along here, there's a nice little opening about halfway where I stopped, and there was a darter on the other side of the lake, which I took a very nice photo of. At 500 mils it came in very nice. And just on the right here you can see a mound. We have the black swans nesting in the lake at the moment. So I walked along a little bit more, zoomed in, and got a really nice shot of the black swan sitting on its nest. You can see the huge nest that they made, and the green rushes in the back really highlight this bird. Just keep walking along the track, and the track just meets back up with the normal path again. And that was the footbridge that you could walk across. Now I just keep walking along the lake. So I'm doing a voiceover today because I accidentally switched my mic off and I didn't realize that I wasn't recording any audio throughout this video. And we're at the top of the lake here now. And there's a swan's nest there. Got another really nice photo of the swan side on. Now I'm faced with a situation where you can see the sun is in front of me here, And now you can see the swan is all backlit. It's in the shade, and it's going to be very difficult to get some nice photos of the swan. These are edited photos, but this looks much different to the last photo that I took or the first one that I took. You can see this is with the sun shining on the swan. This is with the sun shining on the opposite side of the swan. You can see the other side of the swan's nicely lit, but here the swan is all backlit. So this is why I tell people, try to have the sun behind you when you're taking photos, and you will end up with some very nice bird photos. So now we're on the opposite side of the lake, walking along. This area here is normally filled with fairy-wrens. I could hear a couple of fairy-wrens, but they're playing very hard to get. On my right here, there's another pond where the sacred kingfishers nest. Here I stopped just to look at the lake. There's a peewee here hunting for food, and I really like spending a bit of time getting low down and just watching the bird, watching what it's going to do. And you can see it's ducking down and comes back up with a little ant or something like that. And I looked out across the lake, and there was some whistling ducks there in a small group. This was the first time I'd seen the whistling ducks at this lake. It was very nice to photograph them. And I had to turn up the exposure compensation just so they wouldn't be too backlit. This area here is normally filled with birds, and I was a bit disappointed, and then all of a sudden my luck changed. I started hearing birds in this area, and I got quite a few photos of the birds in this area. This male superb Fairy-Wren was playing hide and seek, and this was the best shot I could get off it. There was also a little Wattlebird in the tree. I got a very nice photo of it before it flew off. I don't really like photographing birds above me, but this was as close as I could get to this grey Fantail, and I got 2 photos of it while it was flickering up in the trees above me. Then I noticed a female Rufous whistler, so I kept an eye out because I knew the male was about, and I had to wait 10 minutes from this shot to the next one here, and I got a couple of very nice photos of it just on this little perch here while it was looking at me. I was very happy. Now this set of photos of this Indian myna shows you that sometimes taking quite a few consecutive images of a bird, especially when it's doing something. So this common myna, or we call them Indian myna, landed. You can see it just had a bath, and it was just preening itself. So I fired off quite a few shots in continuous flow, so only 5 frames per second. But I'll play these out now, and you will see how taking photos continuously, you can end up building like a slideshow of how the bird moves about while it's doing its activity. Then I noticed in front of me some Pacific black ducks, and this Pacific black duck walked right up to me. He was so close that I couldn't get a photo of it. Then another Pacific black duck started walking towards me, but a bit further away, so I got a couple of very nice photos of it as it was walking towards me. This is why it pays to be low down to the ground, so you get a very front-on view of the bird that you're photographing. Now we're making our way back towards the hotel, and on our right here they've planted heaps of bottle brushes and all that, where at times there's heaps of nectar feeding birds. You can see there. But then on the left there's a boat ramp that's been built, so when they clean out the lake, and there was this Australasian darted just drying itself out after having a feed in the lake. Also got a very nice photo of a hardhead. Some people call them hardhead ducks, but they're really just called a hardhead. Now here I just want to illustrate, I talk about that I normally shoot wide open at f5.6. But if I'm faced in a situation like this where I have 2 birds about the same focal plane, you can see these birds are very close together, that I will increase my aperture, and in this setting I increased it to f11. This was taken at f5.6. This one here was taken at f11, and my focus point was on the duck on the right, but the duck on the left is just about in focus as well because I was shooting at f11. Then I noticed this spotted dove just looking at me, and again just standing still waiting for it to behave. Look at the behavior, it just turns its neck sideways just to see if it can get a different view of me. It's just amazing, the bird's behaviors sometimes. Now we're back up to the hotel. You can see it's a beautiful lake here. There's a boardwalk along the lake. This area here is always filled with ducks. The locals feed the ducks. There's quite a few Australasian grebes that call this lake home. They're a very small bird. You can see the two Australasian grebes right in front there, these two little birds. They are the Australasian grebes. There's a domesticated mallard duck just swimming past. Another nice shot of an Australasian grebe. And here you can see all the ducks just swimming around. I had a very nice morning here. Then I noticed a little pied cormorant jumping up and spreading its wings to dry itself out after having a feed in the lake. I got this really nice photo. I'd increased the exposure compensation by 1 stop so I could get some nice detail in the wings without increasing the shadows too much in post-processing. And here's a couple of photos I took of the birds here. Pacific black duck, a dusky moorhen, and a Eurasian coot. And you can see the domesticated mallard duck here. You can see there's quite a lot of bird life around this place. Because they're so used to human contact, you don't really need a very long lens to take photos of birds here. Here's a photo of this domesticated mallard duck. He just didn't want to face me. These next two photos I want to show why you should just wait. Be patient when you're trying to photograph birds in particular. The duck was facing me and its head was in the shadow. Then it just turned side on and look at the sheen on its head. It's so much different to this photo. Why? Because I just waited a couple of minutes and it turned its head side on. The sun was shining on it and I got a totally different image. So I kept walking along the lake. I do apologise also for a bit of the shaky video. I just had the shakes really bad this day, and even with my Osmo Mobile 3 I couldn't get rid of all the shakiness in the video. It gives you a beautiful view of the lake. There's the hotel there. We're about 3/4 of the way along the lake here. Coming along to the causeway. This area here, I take quite a lot of photos of the sunset because the sun sets across the lake and you get some beautiful sunset photos here if you're a local. And you see how beautiful this area looks. I was just walking along, and just when I got here I noticed a little Friarbird fly across from my right to my left into this tall tree here on the left, and this bird stood there for about 5 minutes just hiding in the tree while it was feeding on these berries. I just waited patiently. You can see it's playing peekaboo with me. Then it just came out for a couple of brief minutes. I got a nice photo, and look at this. If I zoom in, you can see it's got its tongue sticking out. I'm really happy with this photo. I keep walking along. Normally this area here in summertime is just filled with wrens. You can hear them everywhere. And we're just about back to our starting point. And as I walked here, just behind these people, I saw some brush turkeys. They are called brush turkeys. They're not bush turkeys, they're brush turkeys. There was 3 of them feeding in the grass here, looking for worms because of all the rain we'd had. Very easy picking for them. I got a couple of very nice photos of them. Now just making our way back to my starting point. This short drone video shows you what the lake looks like from above. Hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.